The way it was is that Christopher Opinion wrote an article in the New Yorker called Cat Person, but that has nothing to do with our film. That was just a wonderful short story that went viral. And she was the writer. And then separately, she wrote a script about young people doing this game. And that script was sent to me. So it was not based on a New Yorker article, but just her script. And what I loved about it was the idea of the game, because I used to play that game. We call it Mafia or Werewolf or Murderer. But I used to play the game a lot with my friends, and it would always really go into an area where it was complete like emotional warfare, psychological warfare. People would be crying, relationships would break up, and then 2 weeks later we would decide to do it again, because it's all about, do you speak the truth or are you lying to me? And in order to sort of force you to speak the truth, I'm going to like really, tell everybody all the secrets that I know about you because you were cheating on me 2 years ago and then you lied and I see it in your eyes, blah, blah. So I was really intrigued by that, but I thought, why don't we take that game and use it as like a premise to talk about group behavior and group hysteria and, technology and all the things that the film has now. And sort of, I don't really like myself films with a monster under the bed or a ghost or a haunted house. So I thought I want to make a film about human nature and how, fucked up we all are. But I think when I started to work on the script with the writer Sarah DeLapp, she's a very young, very popular playwright in America. And I think me coming from the theater and her coming from the theater, those backgrounds combined created this script that really spoke to these young actors. They really felt seen by the script, and Sarah DeLapp is very young herself. So I think the authenticity of how they speak, and it was just something they loved. And the opportunity, of course, to really have some very juicy scenes and really show your range, I think attracts them. And also, to be fair, A24 is a company that is a film studio that made this film, and they are incredibly popular with filmmakers and actors. They somehow found this niche in the world where they create all these quality films and they still, serve them to a big audience. So I think all of that attracted them. And weirdly, Maria had seen my first film and she really loved it. So that was also part of us getting her on board. Definitely not the idea behind that, but I don't mind people getting uncomfortable with something that is so normal. I think that's why I do it a little bit. I do think why I wanted to open in that way. I myself really love films that open very strong, and provoke some kind of emotion, and whether that's awkwardness or maybe they find it, sexy or whatever. I think that's important. And also that your opening image sort of tells you already a little bit like, what journey are we going to go on here? And for me, the whole film, in a very playful and entertaining way, but is about like, are we animals, or are we civilized? Okay. And of course, sexuality and violence is more our primal side, right? So, but we open in this paradise, we hear the birds chip, 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 and we see these beautiful women have a beautiful kiss, and it feels so sensuous and wonderful. But only a little bit of time later, we are in a bloodbath, and there's a hurricane, and nature is sort of like eating all of us up. And what I also really think is funny in the beginning of the film is where they say to each other, the love couple, they say, "I love you," and then the next shot they are on their phones texting. And of course, the film ends with the line, "I have reception." So to me, it's also a comment on, our phone addictions and our total dependence on technology. I mean, we had a very limited budget, so we couldn't just like build a house or, get the best house in the neighborhood. But at the same time, I was super demanding. I was like, no, but all the scenes that Sarah and I created on the page we need to be able to shoot it in one location. Coming from the theater, it would scare me if I would have to shoot in different houses, pretending that it was one house. So luckily we find this ridiculous house. They call it a McMansion in America, right? Where they have an inside basketball court and outside. It's crazy. But we could get it because it was so deteriorated. There were literally mice floating in the pool. There were frogs inside the house. There was a raccoon who would eat all our props at night. So nice. Of course I was like, if we were literally like afraid. And also the whole film takes place in the dark, almost like 80% of it. So, and us coming from Europe, me and my DP, we were really hardcore dogmatic, like, oh, we should really have it completely dark. So there were times when we would actually get lost in the house, and yeah, the whole house was a whole like scary element for all of us. It was incredibly challenging, and But the thing that I do is I involve him really from the start. So when Sarah the Lap and I started to rewrite the whole thing, and then I come up with the fact that I don't like it in the snow, I was like, no, I want a hurricane, because I don't know if you remember the erotic thriller, which is my whole obsession, Faithful. It starts with she encounters, you know, her lover, and it starts in a hurricane in New York. And I feel a hurricane is so erotic and sexual and sensual. So I said, no, it's going to be a hurricane. But then him and me started to speak about, you know, the power is going to be cut out. But I learned that in America, they have hurricane parties where they actually know the hurricane is coming. And this would save his whole lighting plan, because then they could bring flashlights. They could bring little neon lights that they put around their neck. So we were very creative with the light sources, so that at least we would have some lighting, because otherwise it would have just been pitch black all the time. So the hurricane party made it possible for him and me to actually develop a light plan that would still be exciting and dynamic, and not just, you know, black darkness. Scarily enough, this guy, he's like a little bit of a super person, like a superhuman. He really did it in one go. Like he could immediately, and also because I like put in some rehearsal time for that, you know, like not on the shooting day itself, but we had a lot of preparation time in the house. So I said, like, let's take out like half a day to practice this with him. And he was like, I said, did you ever do this before? He's like, nah. And then he did it, and it was just right. It was just perfect. And the stunt team and I were like, wait, what just happened? So, you know, he's very athletic. It's like a human where you're like, oh my God, I need to really work on myself right now. Go back to the sexual drama or thriller. Like I really love all those, like Indecent Proposal, and, you know, all of those films, and Fatal Attraction. And so I just want to, and Basic Instinct from my hero, Paul Verhoeven. So yeah, I want to go back to that.